Welcome to writingalong.com. Today's episode is all about writing for therapy, or self-understanding, really. When you write, you do kind of form an innate, very just kind of intimate understanding of yourself. It's just kind of unavoidable when you're coming up with words that are really, really coming from you, right? You're sensitive to these words, you're aware of them. That's why you're using them to write. So essentially, what you see reflected on the page is yourself. It's like a mirror image, or at least a mirror image of a part of yourself. While most of your self-understanding can feel kind of fractal and just all over the place, you do bring sense, you bring cohesion. There is a sense of balance from writing, just inherently, as what it is and what it stands for, where it comes from. So when you write, you do kind of, it's meditative. You're giving a sense of order to something that otherwise doesn't feel like it has any. And when you do that, you see things a little clearer, not just about the world outside of yourself, but just in your connection to the world outside in general, and how it relates to you. It all comes together in understanding, well, what are the things that affect you? Why are you obsessed with this concept, with this idea? Why do you want to portray this in your writing? There's always some kind of reason, and it's not always like just spelled in a word. It's more just the effect that your writing is having. What is it teaching you about yourself? This works especially well. Writers aren't always receptive to this. Not always. I mean, you're the one with the active mind that's talking all the time. So it's kind of like, if you really wanted that therapeutic experience, it seems kind of redundant sometimes, because you already serve the role of the therapist to yourself in plenty of cases in your life. So it's hard to sit down and hear something else. And writing it's hearing something else. It kind of is hearing an outside external perspective, because you learn writing from the writers that you admire, not directly, not just by lifting off the page all of their secrets, and that doesn't exist. It's just their voice. It's just the way they talk. It's just their narrative, and then it's the way that they're telling. You can try to tell the same story if you want. You can copy a book if you want. Just write it on your own. You'll see there will be. I don't recommend doing that, but there will be unique things that come because of you. What you bring to the table, what you're reflecting with words. So, as a writer, what you see on the page is not just a reflection of yourself, but writing as a whole is talking back to you. All these writers that have influenced you, not just writers, I mean everything that's influenced you in your life. Certain people, certain figures, certain conversations you've had, they all come together in what you're communicating, what you're bringing onto the page, what you're bringing to life. I say that a lot, what you're bringing to life, because writing is alive. And what you're seeing or hearing or reading back to you, it is kind of therapeutic, because it's just, you're going at it, getting those words down, you might be looking at the word count, you might not be, you don't care. Sometimes it doesn't matter, you're just journaling or something, and then you have to read it back. That's a very real part. It doesn't get read back to you unless you do some text-to-speech stuff or you have someone else read it to you. But if you're going to go back through it and check it out, you're the one reading it. So you have to take the seat now. You have to listen to writing therapeutically communicate with you. In no way can I say this is a replacement for medically suggestive therapy sessions. I mean, I'll get removed from YouTube if I say that, right? So I can't say that here. Let that be clear. But I am going to say that it serves a very real purpose in your life, especially during times when there's really no one to have a conversation with about certain things, and you just feel kind of lost, stranded, suffocating. All these feelings. It doesn't just have to be stuff like that. You might feel excited, you might be experiencing some kind. It's the other side too. You can just pair the other side. You might be experiencing some success in your life, and you have a high quality problem of fearing of losing it all. Guess what? That comes with it, and it's just like, it's the stuff you can't always talk about, right? Because it becomes too specific. You might have a very unique problem, at least in your head, right? Very unique, that you can't talk to. Write it down. Write it down. It doesn't have to be a book that you release. It could be, though. That's the thing. You could channel it into stuff like that. I don't really like the word productivity or productive, because what do you define that as? I mean, some people define it as you sent this many emails. out for your marketing for, you know, like that. All there's so many different connotations. It's useless to apply that, but it's necessary to bring that word up because I want to pivot it into this. It does accomplish something when you channel your confusing thoughts into words. You can actually get a whole book out of it. You can get a short story out of it. You can get a poetry collection, a poem, just maybe one idea for a book. You can have a whole story, a whole series if you want. I'm sure. All this writing just from this bit of confusion you have, this sense of just you're unsettled. You know that you're not just sitting back like, oh cool, everything's fine. Yeah, what a nice sunny day. Everything's okay. It's not. It's really not. But you can use that to have something to write about. And most writers don't have to go out of their way to find those things. I mean, they're just present in your life, in your mind. By nature of thinking like a writer, you might think a little differently from most people around you. So already you have that kind of, it's at an extreme level or a minor level, you have some kind of conflict already with that. There are certain things that are just bouncing off in your mind, just echoing through. And use those for writing. You'd be surprised what it can give you, what it can give readers. You may just find that there's plenty of people who know exactly what you're talking about, and what you write is going to resonate with them pretty directly. Almost like scary how much you are going to be able to relate with certain people, because you have this ability as a writer to really carry images and provide them and show them to people. You're photographing moments in time that may, like, they don't exist. It's like photography, but you get to invent your setting. And what you invent is hopefully authentic, hopefully represents and is parallel to something that's actually going on in your head. And you'll find that people will recognize it. They'll see it. And they'll say, wow, that's something I can relate with. And then your books themselves can become very therapeutic for people as well, if that's something you're interested in. But it's not the only product of your writing. It's just kind of like it's a cool effect. It as a writer, it is cool to put something out there, and people understand it. They know where it's coming from, and they have certain perspectives on it too that you didn't even know, that you don't even see, little things you didn't even notice. You brought that picture to life. You took that literary written photograph, however you want to put it, and they're noticing things you don't even notice. They're teaching you things about yourself, which is pretty extraordinary. And it doesn't cost you like $1,000 a session. You can do it on a notebook paper. You can do it on a sticky note. You can do it on a piece of cardboard on the back, on a napkin, on your hand. Take a picture of it. You can write anywhere you want. You really can, and whenever you want. You can find the time. That's the thing, especially for stuff like this, like therapeutic writing. Maybe you don't want to write a whole book, but you just want to get some thoughts down. You can just share those too. You don't have to, oh man, I have this complex thing going on. Let me write a whole book about it and then share it to everyone. As a sole motivation, it's cool, but it's not always sustainable. If you want something a little instant, write down something that you're really just struggling with. Something that's getting you not just down, but it's really apparent in your life. And share that writing with someone. You would really, again, be surprised what kind of reactions you get. Some people might be like, wow, I know what you're talking about. Like, I feel that too. I understand. I wasn't able to put it. I was never able to put it like that. Maybe you never were able to either. You can never bring it up in conversation, but somehow by writing it, it's like, again, it's not just your own perspective. You're getting the perspective of writing as a whole, reflecting in a dialogue, and you're hearing from your influences. They're speaking through you, to you, and they could speak to others too. And when you put your name on the book, but it comes from somewhere else too, and that, and your readers will probably know too. Influences are definitely apparent, but some influences people will never know. They'll have no idea because they don't even sound anything like what you've written, but they come from there, and it's like they influence you for a reason because they inspire, they mean something to you, and that will mean something to someone else as well. This collection of inspiration you have is beautiful. You're making that, and others are going to react to it. Others are going to see it. They're going to know it, and it's all in all, it's going to be very freeing too, for yourself. A lot of writing is freedom. It's freedom for you, for others, and it's accessible. It's completely, you can access it whenever, wherever you want. It's really hard to censor writing when you can distribute it anonymously. You can distribute it however you want. You can talk about anything in writing at all. If you're really worried about your identity, stay anonymous. Use a pseudonym, right? You can publish in ways where your identity isn't really known. You'd be surprised. You think the internet's out there, everyone knows everything, but it's not really that transparent because there's so much noise. There's so much going on. And this applies, again, directly to writing. Shut the noise off in your life. Shut everything else out. When you're writing, you kind of have to. It's not something you're trying to, I've got to not pay attention to everything. No, when you're writing, you have to be listening to your mind. You have to be listening to these thoughts, to these feelings. You got to be quiet. Otherwise, you won't hear anything. And because of that, it's inherently therapeutic. Without even trying to be. It's like the pathway to many self-realizations about yourself. And it's free. Check out this guide I have from the website, How to Write a Book in 30 Days. 10 parts, completely free, available on the website. Let it sit in your inbox so that you can write your book and contribute it to the world, because the world is waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. I love to see it. I love to read it. So I'll see you around, and hey, thanks for checking out this episode. See you around.